Hi, my name is Wilx, and this is episode 5 of Project Ozone 3. Well, today I'm going to show you another way to reduce lag, one that I haven't shown you before. I'm going to warn you about something that could be crashing your game. If you suffer with some game crashes, this might be the reason. We're going to talk a little bit about the Osmium compressor and the Nuclearcraft alloy furnace. We're going to make a big energy cube and a medium-sized flux capacitor. We're going to spend some while on automating prosperity shards. I'm going to show you a better way to make for doing automations, like a better auto crafter, the Sequential Fabricator. Notice it's not called crafter, that's why I missed it first time around. We're going to make a laser weapon that's capable of getting chunks and beheading and all sorts of interesting things. We're going to make an unbreakable hammer. We're going to automate a mob farm, and we're going to get some pink slime as well. We're going to do the mob farm in the deep dark, actually. Okay. So, what do you think of this little thing for starting it off that way, using the clipboard so you can sort of follow along with me as I'm explaining what things I'm going to do in the episode? I thought it was kind of a nice touch. You let me know. Whoops, back to game. So, first off, I talked about a way to improve your performance. Notice my FPS is a little better than it used to be. So, if we go here, no, not that. Escape, options, Snooper settings, and set that to off. Allow Snooper off. And I got like an extra 5 FPS, something like that out of it. So, next up, the crashing thing. This is actually in the patch notes for Project Ozone 3. Don't overfill extra utilities to inventories. For instance, I crashed and then I decided, okay, I better figure out what it is that caused that. I was in one of these and I shift-clicked in a bunch of essence and I crashed. Well, what the hell is that all about? It seems that any of the extra utilities to inventories, not just the analog crafters, if you overfill them, you crash your game. And I've seen other YouTubers do it, and they have no idea why they just crashed, and that was the cause. All right, so let's get on to our mech stuff. We set these up last time, and we didn't use them at all. Well, I used them a lot. And I really didn't need to make 3 of them. I could have done it with 1. I used to remember it that you'd put in a bunch of redstone and the redstone wouldn't work out exactly the same amounts. It's all 1 for 1 now. Easier than it is even with the smeltery to try and keep track of things. So no, I didn't need 3 of them. But here's the recipes. So notice these are the Nuclearcraft signs. The way you play around with these, I showed them in Project Ozone 2. I use these things. So let's say we click on there. We can move this up. We can move it down, left, right. And we could change what's showing in there. It's all very straightforward that way. Where it becomes a pain is playing around with the text. I don't like the way it works 100%. But you type your text in. You've got a space over. There's no centering options that I know of. Well, actually, there's some weird formatting things here. But they're really hard to get them to work right, or I don't know what I'm doing. I guess it's I don't know what I'm doing. I played around with them a little bit. I did get them to work, but didn't really like my results. Anyways, what I'm trying to show here is you take 1 redstone plus 1 iron, and you get 1 of these enriched alloys. Or you take 1 redstone and 1 osmium, and you get 1 of these basic control circuits. And I'm doing them in batches. I've already used lots of these, so I've made a whole pile of them. And if you combine the 3 of those together that way, you get an advanced control circuit. Next up is this one here. And whoops, it's down here we want. You take one crushed diamond. I needed to make a pulverizer for this, by the way. It didn't like the crusher. I don't know why. Well, actually, maybe this wasn't the problem. Maybe it was the obsidian. Something I had to make a pulverizer for. Anyways, reinforced alloy is the enriched alloy, which are these red ones I showed you over here, plus a crushed diamond. You get that. And when I say that, the way it goes in is you put the crushed diamond, it goes in there, and the other thing, whether it be iron or whatever it is you're putting in, goes there, and the answer comes out there. So that makes our pulverize, our refined obsidian and a reinforced alloy. Then over here we've got one refined obsidian dust plus one reinforced alloy equals one atomic alloy. I'm sorry, I did this one in a different way. I probably should have kept consistent on the way I did them. But since I was only making one thing, I decided to try it a different way, but it might be confusing to you. And then we can use those combining different types together, and you get other levels of them. All right. Then we use those to, let's start off over here, and we'll show you a few things. Oh, we started into those already. Let's show you something else first. Well, let's finish off since we started on that. So that's how you make the osmium compressor once you start making those things. And then I made upgrades for them. These are the energy upgrades using the enriched alloys and gold. And the speed upgrades, that's with the osmium dust. Now let's talk about those. I put 8 upgrades in each one of these things. They're much faster when you do that, 10 times as fast. But always put in the energy upgrades if you're going to be putting in the speed upgrades. Because the way these things work out is, I think they were taking 20 RF per tick before. Now they're taking 200. If you put only the speed upgrades in, they take like 2,000, or maybe it's more than that. But they take a huge amount of power to run them. You got to put the energy upgrades in if you're putting the speed upgrades in. And I did it for all of them, including the osmium compressor as well. All right. So the other thing that I was going to show you over here was the alloy furnace from Nuclearcraft. And I put a bunch of upgrades in there as well. Can we get a recipe on those? Yeah. So they're easy things to make. And what I did was I took one crushed quartz, got that from sieving, and cooked it and got a silicone. I took the silicone and a redstone, and I got a redstone alloy ingot. And let me show you alloy smelter. Alloy furnace, actually. Okay, so these are fairly straightforward. This stuff's easy, just some copper and some iron. And these ones here, to get graphite dust, you cook coal, you get a graphite bar, you pulverize it, you get dust. Combine it with some lead, and we get these things. And very straightforward regular bricks to do that. And then you can turn around and use this thing to use. And it basically does a lot of the stuff that an alloy furnace does. However, what it doesn't do is quartz, the fused quartz. So you still need to make an alloy smelter. But you can get started on this right away. It's not gated at all. So you can start making alloys. And I could have been doing that to get a lot of the EnderIO higher level stuff immediately. All right. So where are we on our list here? We've got that. Let's get started on some of this other stuff. Oh, this one I didn't mention in the list. So what are we using this other stuff for? So let's use the refined obsidian ingots that I showed you how to make over there. This does 15 damage. My old one with Osmium does 10. This does 700 durability. This does 3,000. Definite upgrade. Serious upgrade. We need better energy storage, so now we can make these things because we're getting stuff like that. So that's our basic energy cube. Advanced energy cube. Higher level energy cube. So this one's up to 12 million. And this is the top tier one. And it's up to 51 million RF per tick. Actually, I know what I skipped in the very beginning. You make pyrithium that way. That's obvious. This is what I wanted to show you. Hardened glass. It's a little different than you might be. Let me explain what I mean. Kits. We go through and we say, okay, I want to make myself a reinforced kit. Well, I need these. What? Huh? You click on it and you go, well, I need the glass to make the glass. What the hell's up with that? Come over here. I need the glass to make the glass. Well, how? Well, it takes me through the fused quartz. You mean I got to have fused quartz to do this? That sucks. That means I got to have an alloy smelter. Circular logic here, right? Well, you can make hardened glass with pyrithium, some pulverized obsidian, and some pulverized lead. Okay, much simpler than the way NEI was showing you to do it. And then we can make ourselves some reinforced kits. That's electrum and silver with hardened glass. So that's the next step. The next step up in kits, these take cryothium, which needs blizz powder. So I've either got to find myself some blizzes somewhere, or I've got to use a fluid transposer with snowballs and one of the various different types of thermal foundation, essence of knowledge. What's that from? Oh, right, those things. Okay. So I can get either the this stuff from a mob farm, or these from mob drops, or that from some of the industrial foregoing machines. Feed it in there. But I have very few of these liquids, so we're going to be making a mob farm later. And that sort of covers these off. Let's come over here, and we will do some upgrades here. What were these before? 120 RF? After we're through, they're going to be 240. I forget whether they were 120 or 160. I'm sorry, I just don't remember. And they're not going to show the amount correctly right now. These things. So we can put those in now. The reason these ones get quieter is that muffler over there. There we go. So those are all set up. And now we've got more power. And I've already got an energy cube that is set up here. I'll take this one out and fill the other one sometime so that I then have extras on me. Like extra power hanging around with me and following me everywhere I go. All right, where are we on our list? Okay, now we're going to go off to the other dimension. So let's get some stuff to take with us. Oh no, one other step here. Right, I was going to do that before I walked over there. That's right. So energy flux capacitor. There may be, I want something to power stuff that's sitting in my inventory. This is one way to do it. There might be something better in this pack. I'm not familiar with all the different ones. Well, there probably is. It's whether I can make something like that now or not. This is something I can make right now. So that one was 1 million RF. This one is 4 million RF. This is showing us hardened glass again. Actually, we're going to need that one to take with us, though. Hardened glass goes there. This one is 9 million RF. That's as high as we can go. Again, we need the Blizz powder. So we'll go over here and we'll shove that thing in here. And it'll charge up while we're gone. Okay, so I told you I was going to make some better automation. So we'll make the sequential fabricators. And we're going to need some of these. They speed up the machine. And I'm going to need some of these as well. Augment pattern validation. Makes them easier to work with. All right, and the rest of this is going to be for later. So let's go off and let me show you what I did. I did a lot of stuff off camera. I spent hours on this bloody stuff. Okay, so I brought up a bunch of other plants. This is titanium, so I can make a whole pile of solars if I wanted right now. Terrible dimension to use solars in. Then we've got emeralds, and I've got plenty of them right now. What is there? 1,000 stacks of emeralds. And I've got 1,500 stacks of diamonds now. I'll probably stop them soon. And I got a bunch of, what's that, signalum and EnderIO. Much easier than having to make it in the smeltery, because once you made it once and you made crops out of it, it's very easy to work with after that. That's why I made a bunch of that. And I had problems over here. I ran out of prosperity shards, and we'll get into how I automated that. Now I've got plenty of prosperity shards. But it was a pain in the butt. I tried for a little while switching to these, which are work in all different use. See, you can substitute them in for all of them. But these things are expensive. They take a lot. I wasn't netting any gain when I started using them on the low-level stuff, especially over here. On these things, when I put them in there, I wasn't netting a gain because I was using up too much to make them. So I figured I need one of these things to automatically make them for me. Is what we're doing here. And then this one's automatically making these for me. Then I only need a few of these. I don't go through them very quick, so I just made a bunch and stuck them in drawers. And they auto-feed down in there. Okay, so the prosperity shards. Come over here, and actually at first, shouldn't come all the way down here, I was using redstone. And I figured, okay, I will sieve down netherrack. The other way would be with a laser drill, but if I want to get huge volumes really, really fast, this sounded like a good way, just sieving down lots of crushed netherrack. And that'll give me plenty of them. And I was making redstone that way, and I was feeding it into lava barrels, and my bottleneck was lava. And I had like 8 different crucibles, all with heat sand out of them, and my bottleneck was still lava. I was making a lot of it with 8 of those, but that was still my bottleneck. And I'm tweaking it and getting better and better, and I had a whole configuration here of doing it that way. And just as I'm finishing it off, I think to myself, boy, it would have been so much easier if there was a crop that could do the netherrack directly. And I start banging my head on the desk because I immediately remembered, yes, there is. So I ripped all that down, and I started again with these things. And we've got the crop over here that's doing the nether essence. And that just goes in a pattern like this and makes those. But notice how slow this is. But they do 32 at a time when they do it. But friggin' slow as hell in the analog crafters for this. Anything where you have multiples like that. Same thing happens with redstone. You're doing 16 at a time, and it's pretty slow in there too. Notice that I got a whole bunch of analog crafters working for the redstone. And we got like a huge backlog of the stuff as well. There's what, 33,000 stacks of this. And these things are full all the time and going. But that's not my bottleneck. It goes through these all just fine. They take no power. They're cheap as hell. They're not actually that bad a solution. They're just a pain to spam and set up. But they're much easier to set up than those ones were over there because we don't have to do anything special. We just pump it in and it works. And then they're feeding the netherrack into this drawer here, and it's making it into double compressed netherrack. And then it's pushing it over here into that, full of double compressed cobble netherrack, and we got like an extra 42 stacks of the stuff there. Well, this is my bottleneck. It's the simple sag mill. And I could have put in more simple sag mills, or I could have gone up to the higher level sag mill and sped it up and stuff. But I discovered I was getting prosperity shards faster than I was using them, and I lost interest in improving this once I discovered that. And basically what happens is this thing here feeds them into that, which feeds them into here, and it's a 9x9 of iron mesh up top, and I'm using the auto sifter to do it. It has a little bit of that stone axles running out, and I've got 10 water wheels. Now, I didn't need something as big as 9x9. I think that's the max size. I'm not sure. I never tried anything bigger, but I seem to remember that being the max when I was doing it manually myself in Project Ozone Light. That was kind of the max size. So that's what I set up. But neither of those is my bottleneck, so they could have been smaller. And we've got plenty of prosperity shards now. 192 stacks to spare. And we're eating through piles of it over there. So not an issue anymore. Might be when we set up the new system. I may need to improve the performance on this one. We'll see. Okay, so I talked about a better way. Got to quit whining about these analog crafters and show you a better way to do it. So we have... Oh, notice that I've got one of these coming out of there instead of a translocator. Translocators don't get along with these quantum storage units. I think the problem with the translocators is that they can't recognize inventories correctly. They think this inventory is full, so they can't push anything into it. The same problem, I should bring this up right now, is the reason why I didn't have a translocator pushing into the drawer. If you put a void upgrade on a drawer, it thinks the drawer is full and can't push anything into it. So translocators don't work very well for that. Now I happen to use these. I should have used one of the ducts instead, since I don't have speed upgrades for the EnderIO yet. And I could have got away with the one duct and one resident retriever. In this case, I just did it with a whole bunch of these EnderIOs to speed it up. First off, I didn't know if that was going to work. I wanted to try it and see if it did, and it did. So it did get a lot faster, and I do not have a backlog of stuff in here anymore. But just thought I'd better go over the translocator issue with you. Okay, so back at what we were doing here. I keep spending this long on explanations. We're never going to get through this episode. So the sequential fabricators. There's power being made down there. So we'll put that there. And we'll put... Oh, we're going to need that. Then that. So we'll put a hardening kit on it. One of those kits on it. One of these pattern validations. One of these reception coils in there. So let's take a look at what we've done here. So yeah, we got a pattern validation. Let's take a look at that. Adds intelligent auto input capabilities. 2 slots are designated for each crafting slot. If that confuses you, I'll show you what that means in a minute. Increases the max power usage, which means additional energy is required per operation, but it moves it faster. It's a speed upgrade, basically. but uses more power when you do. So that's why this thing now uses 160, which is too much for these poor little guys over here. They only do 80. Let's set the sides right now. We'll turn all those off for a second. Now, I'm going to need some stuff here. Let's clear up some of this. I don't need you. I don't need you. Ooh, let's deal with you right away. And what else can get off my bar? Take that off my bar for right now. I made some new essence seeds. We have some tier 6 10x10s. Remember, I couldn't be bothered because it couldn't keep up with the old ones. Well, actually it did. We're now we're running out over here. This doesn't have anything in it. But now we're going to do it faster, so we need something better. So we'll put that down there, and we'll put our 10x10s. Okay. Let's get things out of my inventory here. So I've got the inferium essence. I'm going to need one of the stones. Grab one of those. We'll come over here. And we'll stick that in the center. And inferium around like that. And then you got to click on the set recipe, or the second you get out of this, it'll go away. Because I press set recipe, it stays. So then from the back, we're going to have it input. We're going to have it input from the top. We're going to have it output there. And then we're going to set it on auto input. And see what it... Remember when I said before that it reserves 2 for each of them? It'll be these 2 here and here. So all these 4 go like that. So that's spot 1, that's spot 1. Spot 2, spot 2. Spot 3, spot 3. Spot 4, spot 4. Spot 5 goes there. So if I put this in here, it starts to work. This is a free spot. There's nothing in it, so it shoved it over there when it was partially broken. And now it's making its stuff. So next up, we're going to put in another one of these. This time we're not using these anymore. We're only going to use this and that. Actually, we can put these other things away. Okay, and so now for the setup for this thing, we're going to need one of those. And let's come over here. Let's get a few things. I'm going to need 4 of these. I'm going to need 4 of these. Whoops, that's 5. And 4 of those. And I'm going to need 1 of those and 1 of those. Okay. So this one is the green one. And it goes in the middle slot there. Those go there. And we set the recipe and it starts doing its thing. Oh, this needs to input from there, output there. Next one. Put it down there. We put one of these on, one of these on. Change that. And this is the orange one. So it gets an orange one there. And these. Set the recipe, and it makes the blues. input there, output there. And then for our last one, we're going to put that there. One of those on, one of those on. Take that off. And, oh, check that. And it's off to the races again. Auto input, and output there. Then we're going to take a drawer. Where are all my drawers? Put it there, and those go in there. Now we have to come up with some way to get these crystals. And I'm going to cheat. I'm going to steal the crystals from over there. I'm not going to bother setting up another set of these things on top to make the crystals. Because I thought it was fun the way I was going to do this. So the way this works is it's coming out of there on green and going in there. So we're going to... We don't need you, you, or you anymore, but I am going to need you. I'm going to put one there and there. And we're going to run it over here. Whoops. You're one spot out. Actually, it's this one that I really don't want. Okay, so the way we're going to do this is that one's set to green. So we come over here, and this is set to green. We're going to put on an insert on that, and boom, it's going to get fed crystals. There, it's got its crystals. So now we're going to do the other ones. This one here, since we already used green, we're going to have to find something else. Lime, that will do. Always active. This one here, we want orange. Always active. This one here, we want blue. Always active. Then we'll come over here. This one here, we want lime on insert. This one here, we're going to want orange on insert. Whoops. And this one here, we're going to want blue on insert. So if we look, we're getting those there, and those there. And it's all going to be over here. We're all set up. Now, this is not the best way to do the shards. I'm sneaker shuffling them over and sticking them in there. I will probably come up with either a pipe that runs over here, or better yet, probably an ender chest, so it can follow the diamonds wherever they go, or the shards wherever they go, and feed them in through an ender chest instead. Well, that's it for this area. Let's go back. And, well, just before we do, let's take a look at... Actually, I don't think it says anything for this area other than automate those, the Sequential Fabricator. We are on to our laser weapon. All right. So, laser weapon. All right, so Manulin battery, that's the second highest on capacity, 120,000. I can't make the one with the NROD yet anyways, but I'd probably stick with Manulin because that's a high enough energy and it has the cold-blooded trait, and I want that. Solium, that's strictly so that I can get chunky and the mobs will start dropping chunks that I can use to make, if I want something like blaze rods through crops, I need chunks to do that. And so how do we get solarium? Let's cover that off. Or solium, or whatever it's called. So we need, well, why'd I go that route? Let's go for an ingot or something. An ingot, which is solium dust, which is soul dust plus essence, which is just soul sand and stone in that configuration. Cook it, and you get there. So that's why I picked this. If I was looking just for damage or something, I probably could pick something with better traits to add to damage, right? Here's the thing that really does the most on damage. And laser power 10 is probably one of the best that I can do, and a range of 40s for now, not later, is the best I can do for now. There are two others up at laser 10, but I think the ranges are smaller. Let me show you what I mean. Medium's where all the damage is, the medium. So I'm using refined glowstone right now, which you can see is 1040. The other two that are the same is, this is 10 and 24, this is 10 and 24. And I think this has better, I like the Illuminati. I'll show you what that does in a sec. It's easier to show you than to try and explain it. The ones that are better, though, are Infinity. It does 65. But I don't think there's an Infinity cow in this pack. At least the cow can't spawn on its own. I don't know if you can breed up to it. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong about that. But I don't know that you can get an Infinity cow. The other one that's good is Chaotic, which is 45, and a big range on that as well. And you get Dark Traveler, so that's pretty good. But we got to have killed the Ender Dragon for that. All right, and put whatever you want in as a tough tool rod. I used this to get well established so I could get some experience off of it. There are probably, I could have done better on damage by picking something else with a good stat to add to it. You don't really need to worry about the durability this time because it's working off of power instead of durability. So that is our laser, but we're not done with that sucker yet. We're going to give it, that's nowhere close to enough lapis. I need more lapis. I don't know how much I need. Let's just grab a bunch. There, that's more than enough. And yes, I know I can make it into blocks. I can't be bothered. Okay, so laser goes up there. That goes up there. Pull it out. Put a whoops. You come out of there. Are you at like, no, you're not at 3 yet. You at 3 yet? No. Luck 3. That's all we can do on it. It won't take any more. Okay, that was a pretty good guess on how much it was going to actually need. Okay, and next thing we want out of this is we're going to put Beheading on it. Actually, let's just get rid of you into there. Okay. So now for Beheading, we put that there. And that gives us Beheading 1, Beheading 2. And we have no modifiers left in this thing now. So that's as much we can do until we level it up or something. So, this sucker's good to go. We're going to come over here. He needs power. We've got that on our bar, so we can, this was instantly filled. Took no time at all. Like, it was instantly filled. Have we got any mobs hanging out over here? We got at least one. Watch what happens. I can see her through the wall. Now, if you see bats and you don't already have one in one of these, I got a witch in there already. I've got a zombie villager in there. I've got a bat in there. The way I've been getting those is I've been taking the other vials, which are, why do I not see them in here? They're shirker vials. I don't see my shirker vials. There should be 2 of them in here still. I'm blind. I don't see them at all. But I've been taking the shirkers. I've been just placing them in the mod farm, killing them, and getting it that way. Now, inconveniently, that was a bad example because there's no heads involved. And no chunks from them either. Well, maybe we'll get to kill something else later. All right, so what's next? It was... I should have done this the last time with the sledge, made it unbreakable. The way you do unbreakable nowadays, you don't use paper anymore. You use prosperity. That or living wood, but we can't get living wood yet. So I made my head out of prosperity and this out of prosperity. I would be better off using a better head, I don't know, cobalt, whatever, but and then embossing it with a prosperity head. But I can't emboss yet. I don't have the blue slime or the orange slime. I could get the orange slime pretty easy, but I don't have flight yet to get her over to the other islands. Actually, there is a way around it right now, actually. But we'll cover that in a sec. And then an osmium tool rod again, so we get experience when we do it. And then we come over here and we grab 5 of the reinforced. They're easy to make. They're just any cast and obsidian. Put that in there. Put the 5 of them on there. And this thing's now unbreakable. So I can go down and break all the netherrack or whatever it is I want to break. And I get piles of experience when I do it too. And the thing will never break on me. Other way of getting around. I should have showed you that. Straffetaveling is from loot bags. And we can put that in here. It'll take it half a second to charge up. But we could use that. And I'm shift right clicking. And we travel like that. So if you were to take and let's say make a glider, like dark armor with a glider, you can actually make that right now. It hasn't been stopped in the pack. Or there's even a better set. I totally forget. I don't want to get sidetracked. Never mind. And you could fly around to islands that way and do it. I'm taking too long in this episode. I don't want to start rambling. Let's get on to the next step. We've got the laser weapon, the unbreakable hammer. Let's make our mob farm. So mob masher, same way as always. That, same as always. I pre-made the sharpness ones because that's not stackable. Can't do the beheading yet. Oh, he said he's going to be changing it so that you don't have to make helms for the beheading anymore. I don't know what he's changing it to. He hasn't done it yet. And we're going to make mob slaughter factory for pink slime. And we're going to make a range upgrade for the mob slaughter factory. This is the tier 3. The way these work out, tier 1 is tier 0 is the 3x3. I said it was tier 1 last episode. I was wrong. It's tier 0 makes the 3x3. Tier 1 makes a 5x5. Tier 2 makes a 7x7. Tier 3 makes a 9x9. It doesn't have to be that big. I just chose that one. Oh, those are my bar. Okay, I'm going to make some spot loaders. They load just, this loads like, let's say 3x3 or even bigger. It loads a whole bunch of chunks at once. If you only want to load one chunk, then you got these little spot loaders, and you get 10 of them in one shot. And we're going to use that to load up the chunk where the mob farm is going to be. It's going to all fit in one chunk on purpose. Here's something new that you might not have seen, a self-resetting lever. I don't know what length of time I need, whether I need something less or more than that. I just thought this sounded like a good amount of time. For instance, if I take that out, it's 10 seconds. Put this back in, it's 30 seconds. If I put a fourth set, it becomes a minute, etc. So these are a lever, you flick it, and 30 seconds later, it flips back to what it was. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to be using those in this mob farm. And this is just a minor thing. I made some black lamps and some orange lamps. It's black stained glass and a torch. And you get one of those. So you don't go, where'd they come from? Oh, we're going to need some resident retrievers too. And I'll show you what those are for when we get to the other side. All right. So now we come over here. Let's get some of this stuff off my bar. I got to get off of that or it's going to send me back again. It will not look like this when you go into the deep dark yourself. It'll be just a bunch of torches around that little base there, and very plain stone. I set all this up. These are the lamps that I talked about. We've got orange lamps and black lamps in the floor. Why so many lamps in the floor? Well, this is the deep dark. In the deep dark, you can get damage, or at least you used to. I think you still can. You get damage when you're standing there in the dark. Worse than that. Now, I haven't bumped into this yet. I've just read about it. So I don't know for sure if I'm explaining this correctly. They've got something called the Grue. Actually, if that's still in the pack, I should have seen if he deleted that or whether he left it in or not. The Grue, for any of you that are fans of Zork, and that was the very first computer game I ever played was Zork. I played it on a mainframe back before the PCs were even a thing. And it was a text-based one, and you go down into this room, and you go into this little dark maze. And if you didn't have a flashlight with you and you tried to move through the maze in the dark, it'd say, careful, you're in the dark. If you, what is it? I'm getting the quote wrong. You could get eaten by a Grue. And if you continued on a few more steps, you were eaten by a Grue and you had to start the game over again. So there's an unkillable monster in here that one hits you. And if you bump into a Grue, you're dead. So highly recommend lighting up the deep dark if you're going to be working in there. Thus, a whole floor full of lamps. I don't have to worry about it at all, right? And this is where all my drawers are going to be. And my mob farm is going to be up above. And this all fits in one chunk. And this is my mob farm. So it is dirt running in one row of dirt all the way around. Why did I do it like that? Why one row of dirt all the way around? Why not do it as like a whole room full of dirt and get more mobs that way? Well, in this pack, there's some nasties that spawn. There's something, I don't know how to pronounce it. You don't need to correct me, but you actually can type it out phonetically if you want. Slogos or something. They're a 3x3 mob. I think they're 3x3 for spawning. And they're nasty. They don't get killed by most of the mob mashers or the other automated killing methods. They drop acid down that's really hard to get rid of. You can't just place a block and overwrite it. They're nasty things to deal with. And if you keep it down to a 1x1, you avoid a lot of the nastier things. Actually, speaking of that, while I'm here, let's... no, not that. to make sure nothing can blow me up, I'm going to claim this chunk. So hopefully when things explode in here, and they will explode, they're not going to do damage to it. I'm not sure that that even matters. All the things that explode, I've never seen them blow anything up on me. Not even those lamps, which are really weak, right? Okay, so let's put down our mob masher. It's going to go right there. And it's got a little lever on it to turn it on and off. And we're going to put in our upgrades. And you're all set, ready to go. And then we're going to come over here, and we're going to grab our dark glass and put... Actually, just before we do that, let's do something else first, because it might be an issue for reaching it. We're going to put an absorption hopper underneath here. Okay, so the absorption hopper can pull through walls, not a problem. We look at the show area, plenty. So down, item. Behind it, you can barely see it, is one of those quantum tanks. And I am pointing north. Actually, let's turn the hide area off. And so north is going to be fluids. And that'll shove it into the tank. So we're set up there. We'll cover up this hole here. Now, I have a couple of different sets of lighting. I've got, oh, just before we do that, let's take a drop of evil, put it there, and we'll put in our last piece of flooring there. So when that goes all the way around doing this. And this is our switch. See, we've got redstone lights all the way around, and that turns them off. That switch turns them off. And I'll show you how we did that in a sec. And we're already got a witch somewhere, and she's going to die there. And we got bats that get out. What do you know? I didn't know the bats could get out. I'm glad they don't do any damage. Oh well. Let's deal with bats. If we can hit them. Okay. Anyways, what was I going to do? So now we're going to have to start dealing with all this stuff that's coming out. Let's go deal with that. So we come down below here, and in the back there. The lights go out to the edge of the one chunk. That's not part of the chunk. Let me show you what I mean. F9. So it goes all the way around here. Oh, those lights are outside my chunk. Like that. And let's grab these little chunk loader thingies here. And we'll put one down in our chunk. So that'll keep this chunk loaded all the time. Let's get rid of some of the stuff that we don't need on us. Actually, we might want that. Things will go terribly wrong, I guess, if I don't use it. And what else am I not going to need right now? That'll do. Okay. So let's come around here, and we'll start dealing with these. F9. Well, what is this? Well, we're going to do it differently today than we normally would. I am going to use ducts for all of this. And I'm going to use the two different types of servos to do it. Normally, you would use something like EnderIO item conduits, work very well for it, or some combination of item conduits and the translocators. But I'm going to do it all with these to show you how you would do it, because it works these work very differently than both of those. What's different about them? Well, let's say we were to put a one of these things here. Actually, this is probably the bad one to get started on, because we're going to want to put, yeah, let's start with that one actually. And we're going to take and put our retriever there and a retriever there. Now this retriever we can turn on right away. So anything where we've set a drawer that things can go into, they will go into there. Why am I using retrievers instead of servos? Well, the way these pipes work is if I put a servo there and it tries to push here, it'll push it through the pipe. It'll hit here and it'll go, oh, I can't go in there. It'll bounce around and it'll try to go in there. Oh, I can't go in there. And it'll bounce around and go back up into this. And it creates all sorts of lag because these things get stuffed with stuff flying back and forth inside. With the retriever, the way it works is it looks at this and says, okay, I can take all of these things. Is there any of those things in this chest? Yes. I'll pull them out of there and put them into the drawer. Same thing over here. Anything that's not stackable can go into the anti-barrel and it'll go over there. But the things I want to deal with right away are loot bags. And we just have those ones for now. Oh, and one of the rares. So we're going to set our filter here. We don't want it sucking out the loot bags because they're not stackable. So we're going to set it on blacklist. We're going to blacklist this, this, and this. Then we're going to... Got anything better for me yet? No. Okay, we are going to put a retriever here and put that on ignore. And it's sucking up all my bags. We don't have enough stored yet to do a legendary or whatever. When we do, we'll start dealing with that. So what else have we got up here? Well, I'll just turn this on for now, and if I get once I get a legendary, I will legendary or an epic, I will move them over, deal with it. Okay, then. So for coming out of this one, this is set to common, which is what I want. I'll put that, and because it's directly coming out, I can put in one of these. Now, the reason it's different with EnderIO is EnderIO knows what this is and can say, okay, I'm pulling all the stuff and putting it. It sort of works like a retriever in that sense. It knows what's at the other end. This just shoves it into the pipe and hopes it can go somewhere. And so all loot bags can obviously go into a loot bag opener. That's fine. Actually, the loot bag opener is going to get stuffed. I take that back. I am going to use a retriever instead. Oh, that probably gets sucked up in here. I'm going to use a retriever because this thing can get full and I don't want them to bounce back and forth. So it's only going to pull if it knows it's got space for it. Whereas when we start coming out of this one, I don't want to do it like that. We're going to do it like this. Okay, so now obviously everything from there can go into the next one. And out of this, I want this to only get books. And I want it to get all the books. So I'm going to take a book and set it for all that and whitelist and turn it on there. It should be pulling out of here. That's a retriever. That's why it's not pulling out of there. We want one of these. And now the stuff's coming over. We need that back again. What are you? You're a retriever. We did that wrong. Sorry, I made a mistake. Retriever goes there. Then we set the retriever with the book, that, and ignore everything. And ignored on. And so if we put a book or something up in here, all the books are coming into here. And for instance, that's the good one we want to keep. I don't know whether it's Reaper 4 or 5 is the highest level of Reaper. The rest of that stuff I don't care about, and I'll eventually want to trash it. Okay, so next up, out of this one, we want to pull stuff. And oh, this guy here. There. And this guy here. There. We connected to any more drawers? No. Okay, so again, we're going to pull all the non-stackable stuff out of this. So we want a retriever and anything that can go in there. We want a retriever and anything that can go in there. So some stuff's still going to get left in here that it can't deal with until we set up the drawers. All right, and then next up. So actually, this is most of it. The problem with this system, once we start putting stuff in drawers, is these things are going to get really, really full, and they cause lots of lag when they do. And what you do is you come along, you take a look at it and go, okay, I only need one of these. I'll grab one out of there, and the rest can be trashed. You might want some of these things. And you take a look at those and see which ones you want to keep. And all the rest of the junk that you don't want, you want to send it in this trash over here. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to put one of these on here. And we're going to stick with the regular one, but we're not going to turn it on. We're going to have it set on high. It needs a high signal. And what we do is we grab one of these lever things here, and we put it there. Now, is there anything in here that we want? Yeah, maybe. I got to pay attention to what those are, and I'm not sure what they are. Okay, so let's try it over here then. We're going to do the same thing with another trash can. Reason I'm using multiple trash cans instead of one is so that they can all work at once. I need to get a sound muffler in here. And again, that goes on there. One of these levers goes in. So are there books that I want? Yeah, it was the Reaper I wanted. The rest of those I don't really care about. And so what happens is it sucks all the books, throws them into the trash. And in 30 seconds, it's going to flip back to the other way. We got one more to do up here. So this is our method of clearing these things out. Come on. Flip back. There we go. So that way I can't accidentally leave them on and have it trashing all the books forever. We got another Reaper 4. What do you know? And I think those might be able to combine together to make a Reaper 5. I'm not sure. Okay, let's come up and deal with one last thing here. So this has been working pretty well, getting all the mobs that way. Let's try something different. We want pink slime. So we're going to take our mob. I've got to press out here so I can press shift from here and place that like that. And we're going to give it, Let's get rid of that. Well, I never did show you how I did the item conduits and the probe. I should have showed you that. Oh well. We're going to need that, and we're going to need... There. And then this thing is powering up, doing its thing. We're going to turn that off. Oh, and did we put a range upgrade in, so it is covering that area. And this thing is starting to get fluid, and it's got some of each. So we can take the hide area again. Oh, and we're going to need... Where are they here? Shift right there. Shift right there. We'll put one down here for now. That's got meat. So all the meat's gone. Flap that down. There we go. And we got pink slime. I had to wait till there was only pink slime in it to put the second one down, or I could have ended up with meat on two of them. So now we're going to get a bunch of pink slime. We can take a bucket out, toss it on the ground, kill it, and we get the pink slime that we need to make laser drills and the stoneworks factory and things like that. This is all chunk loaded, so we're fine on that. The one thing I forgot to show you was over here, and why I had the conduit probe out and what I was doing with it. So this is as good a spot as any. Is that square there? Yeah, I think. Okay, so if we check on these, we see that I had to set each one of these to output signal red. They're normally input signal red is the default on them. And I need the output because it's outputting to the redstone lamps. So what I did was I used a conduit probe to set them. The way this thing works is if I click on that and I shift scroll wheel, I can change it between the two different modes. We want the one with the orange mode. And if we come up here and we click on this thing, a shift click. See how it says copied conduit settings. Let's say we went in here and we changed the settings. Made that a green, that a brown. Okay? And then we come here and without pressing shift, just right clicking on it, pasted the conduit settings. And it set them to back to what it was. So I did them all as that way. And that was the easier way to get these all set up. Well, I think that covers it for this episode. I hope you learned something new. Go out there and have some fun. Thanks.